All right, welcome to our ACW Beyond the Board interview series. Today, I'm excited to talk to Madison Beedy. Madison, can you give us a little bit of an introduction about your current role and your role within ACW and the board?
Yes, my name is Madison Beedy. I am the National Channel Manager for EarthLink Business. And on ACW, I am the sponsorship chair on the board. So I am responsible for bringing in all of our sponsors and helping them achieve their goals with ACW.
Excellent. I noticed that you have an early passion for tech. What sparked your passion for getting into tech and then continuing on for helping the women and girls in tech from, a young age?
So tech is cool. I love, sci-fi. I'm a giant sci-fi nerd. And so, as I remember in like the early 2000s, my husband is a software engineer and he was showing me this program called, oh dear Lord, I don't remember the name, but it was like an early video program where you could create your own movie. Mm-hmm. And I just remember sitting there, like making a stupid duck video. I mean, it was like a 4-second long duck video. And I think I spent probably 8 days on it trying to get the duck to walk through this video. And I'm like, this is amazing. So technology is just, I love it. I'm passionate about it. I love seeing the changes. I love seeing all of the things that you can do with technology. And so one of the things I'm most passionate about now, as I have kids, I have an 11 and a 13-year-old, and I see what's in their classrooms. And I'm kind of like, whoa, we need to be doing a lot better. As parents, as schools, as in these environments, we need to create that excitement and that spark from a very young age. And you'll see it as I was talking with a friend the other day, and boys get robots and girls get Barbies. Mm-hmm. And those are kind of like normal toys. And so we're already from that young age, we're gearing boys to want that technology. And I want girls to have that same experience and that same opportunity. And so one of the things I'm extremely passionate about is getting cool technology and little hands.
Well, and I saw that. I can take the sci-fi conversation for us, and like we could totally go off on a tangent together, I think, because I equally love that. And I know when I was doing a little research on you, I know you've worked with your local elementary school to install a weather station, donated 3D printers, introduced coding robots, all of these things with girls. Can you share a little bit more about some of those initiatives that you've worked on and the impact on those students?
Yes. So we, as a PTO, I decided, because I have brain damage as a working mother, to become president of my children's PTO. So I was on the board there for 5 years. And we have this incredible STEM teacher. And one of the things I asked when I first became president, I'm like, as teachers, what do you want? Like, if you could have anything in this world, what would you want? And the first year, they told me they wanted forks. And I'm like, that is the most uninventive thing. They're like, we really want forks in the teacher's lounge. So I'm like, that year, I stuck forks in the teacher's lounge. And then every time I saw something that was cool, I was like, hey, do you guys want this? And through my work, I was really fortunate enough to work with a company called CCS. And they had an entire mock future classroom. And so I talked to the STEM teacher. I'm like, look, will you come tour this classroom with me? I'm like, it is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And so we went and we toured this classroom, and she came back and she's like, Madison, I want these coding robots. We don't have 3D printers. I think that would be really cool for the kids. And I'm like, okay. And so I went to all these different companies and I begged for donations. I'm like, will you donate these things for our classroom? And they did. We made these ads. We got the printers. So we have 5 3D printers at our school. And we also have these really cool coding robots. We have a couple other things. We looked into the augmented reality systems and we decided they were just too expensive at the time, but we'll get there. But what we found was the girls loved them just as much as the boys.
Absolutely.
And the 3D printers are used not only for 3D printing, but the kids design their maps. They designed little map pieces. They built a giant puzzle that they all put together. So each child put together a piece of something that they are passionate about, whether it's sports or whatever it is. And as a class, they built a big puzzle where each piece fits together. So it's working collaboratively. And, as adults, I know you would know is that collaboration is a huge piece, is that
essential. It's essential. Yeah.
It's essential. And so technology can reach all of these different pieces of these children. And we had the first group of middle school kids to leave elementary school. And I was so proud because there were girls going into the tech classes in middle school, computer programming, engineering. And I was getting feedback from the moms that they're the only girls in these classes. And I'm hoping that changes. And so I want to take these programs, and I really want, as ACW, we have our philanthropy committee now, which I'm so excited about. It's just ACW, so we start younger. We start in elementary school, and we get these cool programs, and we teach girls that they can love robots. They're good at math. They can, it's just as exciting in that technology field.
Yeah, I know that you mentioned that girls are taught that they don't have the right type of brain for math, and I was absolutely part of that, to where I struggle. I still struggle, and I have even a personal block. Like, I couldn't possibly do that, and yet I find that in my operations role, a lot of times, like, math is really essential, and I figure it out. Like, I make it work. I have to figure out, budgets, and will things work, and how do I get, this reporting of this revenue, et cetera. And so I think that how we teach our young girls is really important, that everybody has the same brain for whatever, it's just passions vary, but we can all do those things. You touched on this, but your discuss with the ACW in general, and being a board member. I know that the work that the ACW is doing with allyship and philanthropy and ensuring, safety at expos and events. How can individuals, especially on the sponsorship committee, how can individuals support these efforts in creating this inclusive and safe environment with the ACW?
So we actually just got back from Detroit last night, and we were, my president of EarthLink came, and him and I sat on a panel about allyship and about, how do we do better? How do we create this safe environment? And I'm very fortunate. My president and I share a lot of the same values when it comes to engaging kids and women, especially in technology. And so we talked heavily about this, and really we think, or I think that it starts, start them young in that. And in terms of allyship, find your allies, find those people in those communities and talk about these experiences, because I know as a woman, we don't talk about the things, I think that we're taught to be silent as young, if we bring something up, that it's not always recognized. We're not always able to advocate for ourselves. And I've really kind of in the last few years realized that I have to advocate for myself like I would for my child, because I would not let someone treat my child or a friend the way that I let people treat me. Mm-hmm. And I really feel that allies are the way that we can help advocate for ourselves. And so I'm very fortunate. I work for a company that is extremely supportive, that wants me to reach for the moon and go.
Same.
And,
yeah.
And but listening to these people in this, the women's questions to us in this panel, it really was eye-opening of how many companies are not like that. how many women still struggle with that advocation. And the best advice that I feel for these women is to reach out and ask. Maybe it's a woman on ACW, and maybe that's your cheerleader you need in your corner. That's that one you just need to, maybe you need to jump on those coattails and go behind, and let us blaze that path for you.
Amen.
But there is these communities, and there are people that want to help you, and you just have to reach out and ask. And sometimes you'll reach out and ask, and the answer is, hey, no, or hey, I'm not going to do that. And I had a woman when I first started in the channel, and she basically just flat out told me I wasn't cut for the channel. I didn't belong here because I didn't like how a company was treating my customer. I was like, that's wrong. Like, that's not the way that we should, and she's like, well, that's how they all are, and it's not going to change. And I'm like, just you wait and watch, Missy. And sure enough, she was wrong. Yeah. There are incredible companies in this channel. There are people that are doing the right thing. There are people that want to do what's right. And it's just a matter of finding them. So keep looking. Do not give up. There are women, there are incredible men that will support you, that will advocate for you, that will ally with you. And it's just keep trying and find them, because they are there. Sometimes it's a matter of just putting yourself out there. And it's the hardest freaking thing in the world to do. Trust me, I know. I've done it, and I've fallen on my face, and I've gotten mud on my face, and I've come home crying, and I know it's hard and it hurts, but that's the kind of pain that, we have to go through that darkness to get to the light. And once we've hit that light, we get the opportunity to reach back and stick our hand out and say, hey, I know you're in this place. Let's go together. And once you find those people, you will fly. And
I really agree.
That's what I believe.
And I think that's one of the main reasons, and I think you'll concur, that I am so passionate about the ACW. Our 2023 initiative of Be Bold really hit so much on that. And sometimes we fail, sometimes we don't reach that initiative. You dust off, get back up, you try again, and you learn from it. And if nobody's perfect, if we didn't learn from failure, we would never learn. That's just really what it comes down to.
Yes, exactly.
Trying and getting out of comfort zones, which is a really big. It's tricky. It's tricky for some of us. I know for me, like, this is out of my comfort zone, but I get so much out of it. Just this few minutes of talking to you, I feel like I've learned a plethora of things, and I want to be that meme of, did we just become best friends? Like, I'm like, this is such I'll ride a high of this all day, because I've listened to another peer, like, talking about lifting up women and talking about lifting up girls through programs that give, a chance of equilibrium in the world. And we need more of that. So I can't thank you enough for all that you're doing with your initiatives, both with the ACW and the sponsorship committee, and working through that on our board, and with your kids and their school. And it's very inspiring. So I appreciate your time in doing that. I wanted to give you a final word. Is there anything that you want to end us with today?
So I think for me, I feel like I'm a hot mess all the freaking time. Like, I run around like a chicken with my head cut off most of the day.
Mom life.
And I always feel like I am not successful. I'm not good at what I do. People throw around this word imposter syndrome. I don't really know what that means, because I've read the things. I'm like, well, I don't identify with all of that. But what I do identify with is that I don't feel good enough on a daily basis. And sometimes, even though we're not, I'm not like, oh, I'm successful and blah, blah, blah. I feel like shit a lot. And sometimes the best thing I can do to someone is reach out and say, hey, I'm having a really, really, really hard day today. And this happened and this happened. And I don't need you to fix it, but I just need you to know that, like, holy crap, like, I'm really overwhelmed right now. Like, this is a lot. And those conversations are sometimes the best way to find your allies and your mentors, because other people feel that way too. Like, you're not alone in that.
Yeah, you just described everything. It's like, are you in my head? So,
so even like, I'm going to tell a quick story. I had a flight canceled. So I'd been up since 3 a.m. on Monday, and it's 10:30 at night. And I'm going through an airport I've never been to. And I see this woman crying, and she looks young. And you know, that mom in me, I'm just like, I'm just going to go ask if she's okay. And so this poor woman, I'm like, do you need help? Like, is there something I can do to help you? And she's like, they closed the door. And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, I can't get on the plane. She's like, it says, she's like, the time is wrong. And she's just, this poor thing is sobbing. And I'm like, well, okay. I'm like, well, standing here crying is not going to fix it. Let's go. And so, we went and we found an employee to help her, and they're like, go. And I'm like, you've got to run. Like, you've got to go, but you can do it. Go.
oh,
But sometimes you just have to reach out to someone else who's struggling, or if you're struggling, reach out and ask, because, there are people that care, and just find your people. That's
I totally agree. I could not agree more with every single one of those sentiments. Thank you so, so much. I have enjoyed this time. I feel like we could talk for hours around this. So thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing our kids in those worlds, working through the initiatives and standing on our shoulders, because we sure stand on some shoulders as well. And I appreciate that every day with the ACW and what they do for women in tech. So.